everyone, this is Krista. I have Wiley here today. And if you have a horse that has navicular syndrome, you are going to want to stay tuned for this video because we are going to be talking about that. And we are going to be actually talking about when navicular syndrome is not navicular syndrome. So if you've been following me, my blog or my vlog, or you've been, if you know me, you may know that my horse here, Wiley, was diagnosed in March with navicular syndrome. We had planned to go to a horse show, and he was experiencing some lameness. He sometimes gets stuff, you know, that's temporary, like abscesses or whatnot. So I decided to take him to the vet to see if this was something that was kind of chronic or something that could easily be resolved. And at the time, we had decided to do some nerve blocks, and we also did some x-rays, mostly on the right front. We did one on the left front, but that was kind of a profile shot to see how his coffin bone was looking in relationship to the ground. The right one was the foot that he was lame on, and so we did a navicular shot, is when the x-ray is pointed straight down at his foot. And what we discovered is there looked like there had been some changes on his navicular bone. Now, keep in mind, that was actually the first time I had actually ever x-rayed Wiley. I had him for like 10 years, and he's been pretty sound. I did not get a pre-purchase exam when I purchased him, so I had no reference point for that x-ray. But because it looked like he had some lollipops on the navicular bone, we decided to go with a very conventional treatment for that type of diagnosis. And what my vet suggested at the time was to put shoes and 1-degree wedge pads on his front foot. Navicular syndrome is normally when they have some heel pain. Sometimes that is related to the bone. Sometimes it's related to the soft tissue structures around the bone. This particular treatment with the shoes, and my shoer decided to use natural balance shoes, which brings the breakover of the foot a little bit farther back. The result of that, plus the 1-degree wedge pads, would be to put less pressure on the deep digital flexor tendon, which is a tendon that goes through the back of the leg underneath the navicular bone, which acts as a fulcrum, and that it attaches between the navicular bone and the coffin bone. So the navicular bone is in back of the coffin bone. It acts as a fulcrum for that tendon, and then it relieves any pressure off the tendon. Well, what happened there was that he did not actually get much better with the shoes. In fact, initially he got a little bit worse, even though my shoer did a really great job at shoeing him. Eventually he did get better, and I did start riding him a bit, but he really didn't resolve the lameness. And so I decided I was going to book an appointment with a vet that was recommended to me. And this vet is somebody that specializes in hard to diagnose and hard to treat cases, and also in performance horses. So we took him to that vet, and I had to do some additional diagnostics with him. We did some ultrasounds, which ultrasounds are better at diagnosing the soft tissue structures of the foot. What this vet had told me was that he actually did not have navicular syndrome. He had an injury, and that injury was a torn collateral ligament. So he has a torn collateral ligament in the right front. I can't fault my original vet. Part of the reason why we didn't see it in the first place was because I had elected to do just x-rays on him, and I did not do ultrasounds or MRIs, which would have diagnosed the soft tissue structures of his problems. Her diagnosis that she had given me was only part of the picture. I didn't have the full picture. The next thing is he actually did have some changes on his navicular bone. They had looked like what appeared to be a lollipops, which is like a degradation of the bone. However, what the second vet had told me is it was probably some increased vascular activity in the bone as a result of the injury. It was probably not degradation of the navicular bone, but due to the torn ligament. And then the other thing that was reflective of my first exam and why he could have been misdiagnosed was that he actually does have a problem that is related to navicular syndrome, and that's he has a problem with the soft tissue structures around his navicular bone. So collateral ligament is one of the soft tissue structures that is around the navicular bone. And oftentimes when navicular syndrome is diagnosed, it is basically used as a general diagnosis. That's why they don't call it navicular disease anymore. They call it a syndrome, because usually it's hard to really pinpoint the exact problem which is causing the heel pain. So basically navicular is just a general diagnosis for heel pain in the horse. That may have been why Wiley received that diagnosis. The other thing in hindsight that I thought of is a couple of things that should have cued me to think that this might not be navicular syndrome. One of the things which I thought was wrong, because I've had a couple horses that have had this problem before, and usually what happens is they have Dorado's here too. He wanted to come in to the arena. Hopefully he won't get in the way. He wasn't supposed to be a prop for my video, but he's here anyways. In hindsight, I should have realized that it may not have been navicular because, for one thing, he was only lame on the right front. He was not lame on the left front. Now, normally with navicular, it's usually a bilateral lameness. Usually it's worse in one foot than the other, so it might present on one foot, and then when the vet does a nerve block on that particular affected foot, then it will show up in the other foot. Well, when we had originally done the nerve block in March, Wiley was lame on the right foot, but after we blocked it, he was not lame on the left, which gives you an indication that it probably wasn't related to a degradation of the navicular bone, but some other problem. Lo and behold, the torn ligament. The other thing is he has, and I'm going to go ahead and show you a close-up on this, but he has this little bump here on the right side of his foot. That could be anything. I have horses with bumps on all kinds of parts of their bodies, and I don't really think too much of it, but in retrospect that could have been where the injury was. So where do we go from here? We decided we were going to try to treat the ligament injury, and these are notoriously hard to heal. The reason being is there's really no blood supply that goes into the foot where it can start the healing process. So what my vet has recommended to me is a lot of long, slow, boring work. So the first week after he came back from the vet, I had to do 15-minute hand walks once a day for a whole week. And then now I'm doing half-hour walks under saddle every day. And that's long and boring because I can't do lateral work or anything, and I have to stay in the arena with moderate footing. Originally I had taken him out on the side road here, because I was bored. Then I had decided to text my vet, and he said that probably wasn't recommended because this is pavement and he should stay on a certain type of footing. So we're back in the arena here. At the time I had my vet appointment, we decided to go with a treatment process that is supposed to help with the healing, and that is called PRP, which stands for platelet-rich plasma. And this is a treatment where they took a big vial of blood from Wiley's neck and they spin it around in a centrifuge and separate the blood into its various components. From that solution, they extract the plasma and platelets into a concentrated solution, and they re-inject his foot at the injury site. It actually induces inflammation, and it gets the blood into that area that needs to be healed because the ligament doesn't have the blood supply, so the blood goes in there and helps the healing process. His prognosis is a little iffy. We're going to keep working with him. He might not get to the point where I can do a lot with him. I think we can always make sure that he can be used on the trails or just light work. Hopefully more than that. We'll just have to see, and it'll take a lot of time. Now, as far as the costs, because I am a frugal equestrian. So, like originally when I did this, and that's why I decided to go with a conservative diagnosis and treatment. My first vet appointment was about $450 with the x-rays and the nerve blocks and the exam. My second appointment was $1,589, and that included another exam and some analysis on his x-rays. I don't know if he took any additional ones. He did take a lot of ultrasounds too. The PRP treatment is a fairly costly procedure. I think that was about $850 for the extraction and the, spinning the blood in the centrifuge, and then the guided ultrasound, he had to stick it into the injury site. So that totaled to be about $850. It's not cheap, guys, but and then the other thing is, if I had just done that originally, I would have not only saved my money on the original vet check, but then also I went through several shoeing cycles where we had upgraded the shoeing with those shoes and pads. Well, we've ripped them off. We've taken them off now because the second vet said it was probably actually detrimental for him to have the shoes on. We also had him on Equiox, which I took him off of that as well. And then the other thing is that I could have saved a lot of time, and I don't know about him. I don't know what his welfare is like. He probably had a little bit of more pain because of the misdiagnosis. But now we have a game plan to get him back on track. I'm hoping that helps. So anyways, that's pretty much it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have a horse with a navicular syndrome, you can follow Wiley's story. I have an interest in navicular syndrome because I've had like 3 other horses with it. So if that's of interest to you, you can subscribe to the channel, and I will talk about him on occasion of my work with him. And if you like this video, you can like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to see more videos like this in the future. So thank you for watching, guys. That's it for today. Have a great day. Stay inspired, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.